grab a piece of tape. I'm going to put the tape on the back flat part. If you get a little extra, just fold it over, no big deal. Write your name on the tape. Also write your encore color on the tape. I ran out of space. So that it doesn't get lost. It can be found pretty quickly. I already have pre-cut plaster strips. The plaster strips must always be in a container and not on the table. If this gets wet and then dries again, it's useless. So once it's wet, I need to use it right away. First step, cover around the base. Now, if I've decided I wanted to add feathers or something sticking straight up off of the mask, then I'm going to add plaster right here on that flat part. If I don't want anything sticking off my mask, then I don't need to use this flat part. Dip my plaster in the water. You can see as it gets wet, it fills in the holes. I want to, for my edge, fold my plaster strip in half so that there's no jaggedy edges. And I'm going to put it right on the edge of my mask. Taking the time to smooth those holes every time I put a plaster strip down. If I want to have feathers or something sticking off the top, I'm going to start on the flat part. This is if I want something sticking off, I'll be hot gluing my items right there. Or if I don't, then I'm going to start on the edge of the face. You need to have your plan first. And I can pick up that piece of wet plaster and put it right where I want it. Move it around, smush it around as you need to while it's wet. Always take the time to smoothen the holes. Always take the time to make sure it's down all the way and it's touching or kind of overlapping another piece. My edge I fold so that it's not jaggedy later. I'm just going around this whole thing. Because I folded my plaster strips in half, it's two pieces, or it's a double layer right there, which is good. I want to have 2 layers to make it strong on the edge. All this extra plaster I want to clean up before it's time to clean up the room. I want to clean up my mask. I'm going to grab a wet wipe. Just one wet wipe, or even just a dry paper towel is enough to clean off this. I don't want my edge to be too flaky and messy later. So there we go. That's step 1. If I'm just doing a half of a mask, I can end it wherever I want. Just remember your edge should be folded so it's not jaggedy. I'm going to go up over the nose. I want to be able to see out of mine, so I'm going to kind of push it so it's not on top of the eyes. Always taking the time to make sure it's all the way down on my mask and all the holes are filled in. There shouldn't be a lot of lumps and bumps. It will help me in the long run. It'll look a lot nicer when I start painting it. So you can see there's plaster just from my fingers on the eye, but not the plaster strip. I'm going to go around that. So for here, I can just kind of bring it up, pat it down, smooth it out. Always making sure my plaster is slightly overlapping another piece. For my half mask, I want to make sure it's the same on both sides, so I want to take the time to really even it out while it's wet, so I can move it around and smooth it. Alright, so I did my edge. Now I'm ready to fill in the rest of the space. I'm going to go around my eyes because I want to see out of the eyes. So first I'm going to clean it up where the eyes are so I can see it. I can always change the shape of the eye too when I'm going around it. For going around small areas, using a big strip like this would be really hard. That's where these plaster scissors come in. You can see they've been used a lot. I'm going to make smaller pieces. Remember when I said don't leave plaster strips on the table? Put them in the container. I'm going to dip it in water, little strips at a time, fold it in half where my open edge is, like around the eye, so that it's smooth and strong. And you can see, I'm just kind of smushing it in where I want it to get the shape I want. And yeah, it's going to be wet and messy, but I can get in there with a paper towel and clean up the extra plaster so I can see the shape. I wrap my finger in a wet wipe like this and just push it around to get the shape I want and also see what I'm doing. There's always a piece of plaster touching another, and while it's wet, I'm taking the time to smooth it the best I can. I'm cutting them because if I tear them, a lot of plaster dust gets in there. You can see all the plaster dust just from me cutting. I don't want to breathe in that plaster dust, and also I want to keep these strips as clean as possible, not too stringy. Folding my edge where it's going to be open. So it's open where the eyes are, and folding the edges So it's not jaggedy, stringy, and it's also strong. It's double layer. You can see here I'm not really rubbing, I'm kind of gently patting. That way the plaster doesn't move around, the strip doesn't move around too much. Now I can fill in the forehead pretty quick and easy. Using whole plaster pieces, I don't need to fold them. I just want to make sure I have 2 layers. No more than 2. If I start adding a ton of different layers, then it's going to be really heavy and bulky. You gotta get your plaster nice and wet. I can kind of squeegee off the extra water with my fingers if I want to, but I take the time, pick up my mask, smooth it down. I am ready to add elastic next week. Step 1 is to do my edge. Step 2 is to go around your eyes if you want to, and then fill in the rest of the face. Next art class, I come in and I'm going to add elastic and then cover it up with more plaster to make it strong.